Captain Jake Morgan rubbed his tired eyes. For 12 hours straight, the same message had been blinking on every screen of the USS Liberty. The words were simple, but they sent chills down his spine every time he read them. Help us, please, anyone. The bridge was quiet except for the soft beeping of computers. Jake's crew worked at their stations, but everyone kept glancing at the main screen. They all felt it. Something big was happening. Captain, said Lieutenant Ashley Baker from her seat at communications. Her voice was steady, but Jake could hear the worry underneath. I found where the signal is coming from. It's the Kepler 442 system. Jake walked to her station and looked at her screen. How far? About 1,200 light-years away, sir. That was far. Very far. Even with their fastest engines, it would take time to get there. Jake turned to his second-in-command, Commander Ryan. Cooper. What do we know about Kepler 442? Ryan's fingers danced across his keyboard. Data filled his screen. That's Zalathi space, Captain. The Zalathi are... He paused, choosing his words carefully. They're important. Really important. They helped create the Galactic Council thousands of years ago. Jake nodded slowly. The Galactic Council was like the United Nations, but for the entire galaxy. Humanity had only joined 5 years ago. They were the new kids in a very old neighborhood. The Zalathi have the best technology in the galaxy, Ryan continued. Better shields, better weapons, better everything. They haven't asked for help in, well, never. Until now, Jake said quietly. He looked around at his crew. 30 men and women, all volunteers, all from Earth. Most alien species called humans Deathworlders. It wasn't meant as a compliment. To them, Earth was a nightmare planet. Earthquakes, hurricanes, diseases, predators. Everything on Earth seemed designed to kill. Other species couldn't understand how humans had survived, let alone thrived. But Jake knew the truth. Earth hadn't made humans weak. It had made them strong. Ashley, can you play the message again? The lieutenant nodded. The screen flickered, and then a face appeared. It wasn't human. The Zalathi had crystal-like bodies that glowed with inner light. This one's light was dim, flickering like a dying candle. To anyone who can hear this, the Zalathi said, its voice was musical like wind chimes but filled with fear. We need help. Our defenses have failed. Our weapons don't work. They're coming for us. Please. If anyone receives this message, help us. The message ended. The bridge was silent. Sir, said Emma Rodriguez from the weapons station. Should we report this to Earth Command first? Jake thought about it. Protocol said yes. They should wait for orders, gather more information, maybe send a probe first. But something in that alien's voice, the fear, the desperation. How many ships does Earth have in this sector? Jake asked. Just us, sir, Ryan answered. The closest fleet is 3 days away. 3 days. Jake looked at the star map. In 3 days, whatever was attacking the Zalathi might have already won. The Liberty was just one ship with one crew. But sometimes, one ship was enough. Plotty. Course to Kepler 442, Jake ordered. Maximum speed. Sir? Ryan looked surprised. We're going alone. We're going first, Jake corrected. Send a message to Earth Command, tell them what we found and where we're going. Request immediate backup. Captain, Emma spoke up. We don't know what's out there. The Zalathi have the best military in the galaxy. If something beat them, then they need help, Jake said simply, and we're the closest ones who can give it. He saw the doubt in some faces, the fear in others, but he also saw something else, determination. These were humans. They didn't run from danger, they ran toward it. Look, Jake said, addressing the whole bridge, I know what you're thinking. We're one small ship. We're the newcomers. What can we do that the mighty Zalathi can't? He paused, letting his words sink in. But remember who we are. We're from Earth. We're from a planet where the gravity is so high it crushes other species. Where the oxygen that gives us life is poison to many aliens. Where tiny bacteria can kill in days and storms can level cities. We're Deathworlders, Ashley said softly. Exactly, Jake smiled. And maybe that's exactly what the Zalathi need right now. Someone who doesn't think like them. Someone who's used to fighting impossible odds. The mood on the bridge shifted. Backs straightened, eyes hardened. They were still scared. Only a fool wouldn't be. But now they had purpose. Ashley, open a channel. Record this message. The lieutenant nodded. Recording, sir. Jake faced the camera. This is Captain Jake Morgan of the Earthship Liberty. We have received your distress signal. We are coming. Hold on. Help is on the way. He cut the recording. Send it to the Zalathi. Let them know they're not alone. Message sent, Captain. Good. Ryan, how long until we can jump? Engines are warming up. 5 minutes. Jake sat in his captain's chair. Around him, his crew prepared for whatever waited in the Kepler 442 system. They checked weapons, ran diagnostics, and double-checked their equipment. They were professionals, but more than that, they were human. The stars outside looked cold and distant. Somewhere among them, an ancient civilization was crying for help. And one small ship from a death world was racing to answer. Jump coordinates locked in, Ryan reported. All. Systems green, Emma added. Communications array at full power, Ashley confirmed. Jake gripped the arms of his chair. All hands, this is the captain. We're about to jump into unknown danger. I won't lie to you. We don't know what we'll find. But I know this. If someone calls for help, humans answer. It's who we are, it's what we do. He took a deep breath. Prepare for jump. The Liberty's engines hummed with power. Space itself seemed to bend around the ship, jumping in 3, 2, 1. The stars stretched into lines, and the Liberty vanished into hyperspace, racing toward a destiny that would change the galaxy forever. The Liberty dropped out of hyperspace with a violent shudder. Jake gripped his armrests as warning lights flashed across every console. Something was wrong. The space around them felt thick, heavy, like swimming through mud. Report, Jake barked. Some kind of interference, Ryan shouted over the alarms. I've never seen anything like it. It's like space itself is sick. Emma killed the alarms. The sudden silence was worse than the noise. Through the view screen, Jake saw why. The Zalathi system was dying, where once 12 beautiful worlds had orbited a golden sun. Now only ruins remained. Broken planets hung in space like shattered marbles. Debris fields stretched for millions of miles, the remains of space stations, ships, and cities that had floated among the stars. God, Ashley whispered. What happened here? Before anyone could answer, a shadow fell across their ship. Jake looked up and felt his blood freeze. Something huge was passing overhead. No, huge wasn't the right word. It was massive beyond comprehension, a ship that could swallow moons. The thing wasn't built, it was grown. Its hull pulsed like a living heart, covered in patterns that glowed sickly green. Tentacle-like appendages writhed along its surface, reaching out to grasp debris and pull it inside. As Jake watched, a chunk of space station disappeared into what looked like a mouth. It's eating, Emma said, her voice small. It's eating everything. Shields up, Jake ordered. Weapons hot, but don't fire unless... Captain, Ashley interrupted. We're being hailed. It's Zalathi. On screen. The view screen flickered. A Zalathi appeared, but barely. Their crystal body was cracked and dim, their inner light fading. Behind them, Jake could see other Zalathi lying motionless. Human vessel, the Zalathi spoke, their musical voice now harsh and broken. You came. We thought no one would answer. This is Captain Morgan. What's your status? What is that thing? The Zalathi's form shuddered. Pieces of crystal fell from their body. They call themselves the Devourers. They came from the dark between galaxies. They consume everything, matter, energy, life itself. Our weapons, our shields, our technology. Nothing works. They adapt to everything we try. Jake's mind raced. The Zalathi were the most advanced species in the galaxy. If they couldn't stop these things, how many of your people are left? 3 billion hiding in the inner worlds, but the Devourers are closing in. Our calculations show 72 hours. Then we'll be extinct. The bridge crew exchanged worried looks. 3 billion lives. 72 hours, one small human ship. We're evacuating who we can, the Zalathi continued. But the Devourers destroy any ship that tries to leave. We're trapped. Another shadow passed over the Liberty. Jake looked up to see a smaller Devourer ship, if something the size of a city could be called small. It moved like a predator, smooth and purposeful. It's seen us, Emma whispered. The Devourer ship turned. Along its hull, things that might have been eyes opened. They glowed with cold hunger. Battle stations, Jake shouted. The Liberty's weapons fired, laser beams, and missiles struck the Devourer ship. The weapons that could crack asteroids and destroy normal vessels barely scratched its surface. Worse, Jake watched in horror as the damage healed itself in seconds. Evasive maneuvers, Jake ordered. The Liberty spun away as tentacles lashed out. From the Devourer, they missed by meters. Ryan pushed the engines harder than they were meant to go. The ship groaned under the stress. Sir, Emma called out. I'm reading massive energy buildup in the Devourer ship. It's a beam of green light shot from the creature. The Liberty dodged, but the beam clipped their shields. Alarms screamed. Again. Half their systems went dark. Damage report. Shields at 30%. Hull breach on deck 4. We've lost weapons array 2. Jake watched as the Devourer ship opened what looked like a mouth. Inside he could see rows of grinding teeth made of metal and bone. It's going to eat us, Ashley said. Not today, Jake growled. He turned to Ryan. Remember the Titan run? Ryan's eyes widened. Sir, that's insane. This isn't an asteroid field. No, it's better. It's full of debris. Jake pointed at the view screen. Plot a course through the thickest debris field, maximum speed. That's suicide, Emma protested. No, Jake said. That's human. The Liberty shot forward, diving into the floating graveyard of the Zalathi system. Behind them, the Devourer followed. It was faster, stronger, and hungry. Jake's crew worked with desperate efficiency. They dodged chunks of destroyed space stations, the remains of dead worlds, the twisted metal of defeated fleets. The Devourer crashed through obstacles, neither slowing nor caring about the damage. It's gaining, Ashley reported. Good, Jake said. Ryan, when I give the word full reverse thrust, drop all our mines. In the debris field, the explosions could destroy us. I know. Get ready. They raced through the cosmic graveyard, the Devourer close behind. Jake counted under his breath, watching the distance shrink. Now, the Liberty suddenly reversed thrust. The Devourer, caught by surprise, overshot them. At the same time, dozens of mines scattered behind the human ship. The explosions were spectacular, but instead of destroying the Devourer, the mines ignited the unstable debris around them. A chain reaction started. Pieces of destroyed ships, still containing fuel and weapons, began to explode. The Devourer screamed, a sound that shouldn't exist in space but somehow did. It fled the expanding destruction, wounded but not defeated. The Liberty limped clear of the debris field. Their hull was scarred, systems failing, but they were alive. Sir, Ashley said quietly. I'm getting a signal from the inner planets. The Zalathi, they want to speak with you. Jake nodded. Put them through. A new Zalathi appeared on screen. This one's light was stronger, but still filled with fear. Human captain, what you just did? It's impossible. The Devourers haven't retreated from anything in 1,000 years of consuming galaxies. We barely scratched it, Jake admitted, but you made it run. You did something we never thought to do. You used our own destroyed world as a weapon. The Zalathi leaned forward. Please, will you help us? Will humanity help us? Jake looked at his battered ship, his exhausted crew. They were one small vessel against an enemy that ate worlds. David versus Goliath didn't begin to cover it. We'll try, Jake said. Humans are good at impossible. The Zalathi's light pulsed with something Jake hadn't expected to see. Hope. Captain, Ryan spoke up. The human fleet will arrive in 48 hours. Until then, we're it, Jake finished. He squared his shoulders. Let's show these devourers what Deathworlders can do. Deep inside the Liberty's laboratory, Dr. Lisa Chen bent over her microscope. Her hands shook with exhaustion. She'd been working for 16 hours straight, but sleep was impossible, not when 3 billion lives depended on her finding an answer. Anything? Asked Engineer Paul Smith from across the lab. His uniform was stained with oil and burn marks from fixing battle damage. Lisa shook her head. This stuff is like nothing I've ever seen. It's alive, but it's also mechanical. Look at this. Paul came over and peered into the microscope. Inside, he could see cells that looked organic mixing with what appeared to be tiny machines. They moved together like a dance, perfectly synchronized. We got this from the devourer that attacked us, Paul asked. A piece broke off when we detonated those mines. The captain had it brought in. Lisa rubbed her tired eyes. I've tried everything. Radiation, acid, extreme cold. Nothing kills it. It just adapts and keeps growing. Paul frowned. What about heat? Tried it. At 1,000 degrees Celsius, it just laughed at me. Well, not literally, but you get the idea. They both jumped as the lab door burst open. Captain Jake Morgan strode in, followed by Ryan Cooper. Jake's face was grim. Tell me you have good news, Jake said. Lisa sighed. I'm sorry, Captain. This material, it's incredible. It can survive anything. No wonder our weapons don't work. The Zalathi weapons are even more advanced than ours, Ryan added. If they can't hurt these things, Jake slammed his fist on the table. There has to be something. Everything has a weakness. Paul suddenly straightened. Wait, Lisa, you said it survives everything, right? But what about biological attacks? What do you mean? Bacteria, viruses, the devourers come from between galaxies, right? They've never encountered Earth life before. Lisa's eyes widened. She spun back to her microscope. Oh my God, Paul, you're a genius. Help me set up an experiment. Jake watched as his two scientists worked with sudden energy. Lisa grabbed sample. Containers from a special freezer. What are those? Jake asked. Extremophiles, Lisa explained, not looking up from her work. Organisms from Earth's most hostile environments. This one's from the Mariana Trench. This one lives in boiling acid pools. And this beauty, she held up a vial. This comes from the radioactive waste at Chernobyl. You're going to infect the devourer? Better than that, Paul said, grinning. We're going to give it the worst case of food poisoning in galactic history. Lisa carefully placed a drop of extremophile solution onto the devourer sample. At first, nothing happened. Then, look, Lisa shouted. Through the microscope, they could see the Earth bacteria attacking the devourer cells. The organic components of the alien material began to break down. The mechanical parts, suddenly without their biological partners, stopped functioning. It's working, Lisa breathed. The devourer has no defense against Earth microorganisms, none at all. Jake felt hope for the first time since arriving in the system. How fast does it spread? In optimal conditions, these extremophiles can double their population every 20 minutes. Lisa did quick calculations. If we can introduce them into a devourer's main system, they could spread throughout the entire organism in hours. But how do we deliver them? Ryan asked. The devourers won't just let us inject them with Earth bacteria. Jake smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Actually, they will. They'll invite us in. His officers looked at him like he'd gone crazy. Think about it, Jake explained. What do the devourers do? They eat. They consume everything. So we let them consume us, along with our special gift. Captain, Ryan said slowly, are you suggesting we let a devourer eat the Liberty? Not let it. Make it want to. We're going to be the most tempting meal it's ever seen. Paul understood first. We load the ship with extremophile canisters, shielded. Until we're inside. Then we give them the worst stomachache in history, Jake finished. The lab fell silent. They all knew what this meant. It was a one-way trip. I won't order anyone to do this, Jake said quietly. This is volunteer only. I'm in, Lisa said immediately. Me too, added Paul. Ryan nodded. You'll need all of us to make this work. Jake felt proud of his crew, his Deathworlders. All right, let's get to work. We have a lot to do and not much time. For the next 6 hours, the Liberty became a hive of activity. Lisa and her team prepared thousands of canisters filled with Earth's most aggressive microorganisms. Paul and his engineers modified the ship's systems to protect the canisters until the right moment. Emma worked on weapon systems, not to fight, but to make the Liberty look damaged and helpless. Ashley prepared a final message to Earth, explaining their plan. Jake contacted the Zalathi leadership. When he explained his strategy, their reaction was predictable. You want to sacrifice your ship? The Zalathi commander asked, their light flickering with confusion. But on why? Because it might work, Jake said simply. And because 3 billion lives are worth more than 30. But the Devourers will destroy you. Maybe. Probably. But humans have a saying. It's not about how you die. It's about how you live. And we choose to live fighting. The Zalathi fell silent. When they spoke again, their voice was different, respectful. We will remember this, humans. Whatever happens, we will remember. Jake turned to his crew. They stood at their stations ready. No one spoke about fear. No one mentioned home. They all knew what they'd signed up for when they joined Earth's Space Force. Ashley, begin broadcasting distress signals. Make us look like easy prey. Aye, sir. Emma, vent some atmosphere. Leave a plasma trail. Make us look wounded. Done. Paul, are the canisters ready? Locked and loaded, Captain. The shielding will. Hold until you give the word. Jake sat in his captain's chair one last time. Outside, he could see Devourer ships turning their way. The predators had found wounded prey. All hands, Jake announced over the comm. This is it. Today we show the galaxy what humans are made of. Today we prove that sometimes the smallest weapon can defeat the largest enemy. Today we make history. The largest Devourer ship approached. Its mouth began to open, revealing the grinding darkness within. Jake smiled. Come and get us, you ugly son of a bitch. The Liberty, carrying Earth's microscopic warriors, flew straight toward the waiting jaws of death. Inside the Zalathi Central Command Station, hundreds of crystalline beings watched their screens in horror. The human ship Liberty was flying directly toward the largest Devourer vessel. It looked like suicide. What are they doing? Commander. Vex's light pulsed with anxiety. Order them to retreat. They're not responding to our signals, reported another Zalathi. They've gone silent. The command center fell quiet as they watched the tiny human ship approach certain death. Some Zalathi couldn't bear to watch and turned away from their screens. But on the Liberty, Jake Morgan wasn't thinking about death. He was thinking about fishing. You know what this reminds me of? Jake said to his bridge crew. Deep-sea fishing. Back home. Sometimes to catch the biggest fish, you need the right bait. And we're the bait, Ryan finished. The tastiest bait in the galaxy, Jake grinned. Emma, status on our special seasoning? Emma checked her console. 3,000 canisters ready, Captain. Extremophiles from 47 different Earth environments. The shielding is holding perfectly. Good. Paul, what about the release system? Paul's voice came over the comm from engineering. Ready to go. Once we're inside, I can trigger everything from here. The canisters will break open simultaneously. Those bacteria will spread like wildfire. Jake nodded. The Devourer mothership loomed larger on their screen. It was beautiful in a terrifying way. Its biomechanical surface rippled with colors no human language had names for. Tentacles the size of skyscrapers reached toward them. Sir, Ashley said quietly, we're getting a tight beam transmission. It's from the Zalathi command. Put it through. Commander Vex appeared on a small screen. His crystalline face showed emotions humans could barely understand. Captain Morgan, please reconsider. Your sacrifice will accomplish nothing. The Devourers are too powerful. Jake leaned forward. Commander, let me tell you something about humans. We come from a world where tiny organisms can kill us, where a cut can become infected and end our lives. We've spent millions of years fighting, things we can't see. I don't understand. You fight with energy weapons and shields. We're going to fight with the oldest weapon on Earth, life itself. Vex's form flickered. But you'll die, maybe. But sometimes one death can save billions of lives. Jake's voice grew stronger. When this is over, tell the galaxy that humans didn't run. Tell them we stood our ground. The transmission ended. Jake turned to his crew. Any last words? For the folks back home? Ashley held up a data chip. All recorded, sir. Our families will know what we did here. Good. Jake straightened in his chair. All hands, this is the captain. In a few minutes, we're going to do something crazy, something impossible, something human. I'm proud to serve with each of you. The Devourer mothership opened its massive maw. Inside, they could see row after row of grinding mechanisms, organic processors that could break down anything into fuel. The Liberty looked tiny in comparison, like a minnow approaching a whale. Steady as she goes, Jake ordered. Make it look good. We're supposed to be helpless. The Liberty drifted closer. Devourer tentacles wrapped around the ship, pulling it toward the mouth. The hull groaned under the pressure. Hull breach on Deck 7, Ryan reported. Let it happen, Jake said. We need to look defeated. In engineering, Paul watched his screens carefully. The extremophil canisters were still secure, still shielded. Lisa stood beside him, monitoring the bacterial cultures. They're still viable, she confirmed. As soon as we release them, they'll start reproducing. How fast? Paul asked. In this environment? Incredibly fast. The Devourer's internal temperature is perfect for them. Warm, moist, full of organic material to consume. It's like a bacteria paradise. Paul laughed despite everything. Only humans would turn getting eaten into a weapon. On the bridge, the view outside disappeared as the Liberty was pulled into the Devourer's mouth. Darkness surrounded them. The ship shuddered as digestive acids began to eat at the hull. We're inside, Jake announced. Paul, you ready? Say the word, Captain. Jake watched as his ship began to dissolve around him. Walls buckled. Systems failed. But the shielded compartments, holding their bacterial weapons, remained intact. Wait for it, Jake said. We need to be deeper, in its main digestive chamber. The Liberty was pulled further into the beast. Around them, they could see other ships being digested. Zalathi vessels, alien craft they didn't recognize, all being broken down into components. Sir, we're losing structural integrity, Emma shouted over the sound of tearing metal. Hold together, baby, Jake whispered to his ship. Just a little longer. Through the chaos, Ashley managed to send one final transmission. Zalathi Command, this is Liberty. Tell Earth we held the line. Tell them we... The communication system died. They were now deep in the Devourer's core. The temperature was rising. The ship was coming apart. Now, Paul, Jake shouted. Release the extremophiles. In engineering, Paul slammed his hand on the release control. Throughout the ship, 3,000 canisters burst open. The shields that had protected them failed, and Earth's most aggressive microorganisms were set free. The effect was immediate. The bacteria, finding themselves in an environment rich with organic material, began to reproduce at an exponential rate. They attacked the Devourer's biological components with the same ferocity they showed in Earth's harshest environments. It's working, Lisa shouted. The bacteria are spreading faster than I calculated. Through the Liberty's failing sensors, they could see the Devourer's internal systems beginning to malfunction. Biomechanical processes that had worked in perfect harmony for millennia suddenly began to fail. The Devourer's body convulsed. Its digestive acids changed composition as bacteria interfered with the production process. The grinding mechanism slowed, then stopped. "Captain," Ryan said, his voice calm despite everything, "it's been an honor." Jake looked at his crew one last time, his brave Deathworlders. The honor was mine. The Liberty's bridge went dark, but in the darkness, Earth's microscopic warriors continued their assault. The Devourer, for the first time in its ancient existence, began to die from within. Outside, the Zalathi watched in awe as the massive Devourer mothership began to writhe in space. Its bioluminescent patterns flickered erratically. Smaller Devourer ships tried to help, but as they connected with the mothership, they too became infected. The humans were gone, but their weapon lived on, spreading from one Devourer to another, carried by the very mechanisms they used to consume worlds. Commander Vex watched the tactical display. "By the ancestors," he whispered. "They did it. The crazy humans actually did it." The sacrifice of 30 humans had begun the destruction of an enemy that had consumed galaxies. The Deathworlders had lived up to their name. The death of a Devourer mothership was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. From their observation posts, the Zalathi watched as the ancient destroyer writhed in its death throes. The massive creature that had consumed entire star systems, now twisted in agony, its bioluminescent patterns flashing chaotically. Commander Vex stood before the tactical display, his crystalline form pulsing with disbelief. "It's actually dying," he whispered. "The humans, they killed it." Around him, other Zalathi commanders watched the data streams. The readings were clear. Earth bacteria were spreading through the Devourer's systems like wildfire. Every attempt the creature made to adapt failed. The microorganisms were too numerous, too aggressive, and multiplying too fast. "Commander," a young Zalathi officer called out, "the smaller Devourer ships are trying to connect with the mothership. Warn them to stay back." Vex ordered, but it was too late. 3 Devourer destroyers latched onto their dying mothership. Within minutes, they too began showing signs of infection. The bacteria spread through their connection tubes, finding new hosts for their relentless expansion. "It's spreading," another officer reported. "The infection is jumping from ship to ship." Vex watched in amazement. The humans hadn't just killed one Devourer. They'd created a plague that could destroy them all. 2 days later, Admiral Mary Foster stood on the bridge of the USS Tempest as her fleet dropped out of hyperspace. She expected to find the Zalathi system in ruins, perhaps to mount a desperate rescue operation. Instead, she found something impossible. Devourer ships floated dead, in space. The massive mothership that had terrorized galaxies was now a lifeless husk. Smaller vessels drifted aimlessly, their organic components consumed from within. "Admiral," her communications officer spoke with confusion. "We're being hailed by the Zalathi. They're celebrating." On screen, Commander Vex appeared, his crystalline form glowing brighter than any human had ever seen. "Admiral Foster, your people, the crew of the Liberty, they saved us all." Mary felt her throat tighten. "The Liberty? Where are they?" Vex's light dimmed slightly. "They gave their lives." Admiral flew directly into the Devourer mothership carrying a biological weapon. Earth bacteria. It destroyed the Devourers from within. Mary closed her eyes. Jake Morgan had been a friend. His crew had been some of Earth's finest. "How many Devourers are left?" "None in our system. The infection spread to every ship that tried to help the mothership. And Admiral, we're receiving reports from other sectors. Devourer fleets are dying throughout the galaxy. The bacteria are spreading faster than they can contain it." The bridge of the Tempest fell silent. 30 humans had done what entire civilizations couldn't. They'd found the Devourer's weakness and exploited it. "We're sending ships to every inhabited system," Vex continued, "carrying samples of the bacteria. Any Devourer that enters known space will be infected. The threat is over." 1 month later, representatives from every major civilization gathered in the Grand Assembly of the Galactic Council. The enormous chamber, which could hold thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds, was packed. Everyone wanted to witness this moment. The council chairman, an ancient being from the core worlds, called the assembly to order. We gathered today to honor those who saved our galaxy from extinction, the crew of the Earth vessel Liberty. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber, showing the faces of 30 humans. Jake Morgan stood in the center, surrounded by his crew. These beings, the chairman continued, faced an enemy that had destroyed thousands of civilizations. They found its weakness and exploited it, giving their lives to save trillions. Commander Vex stepped forward. His crystalline form caught the light, sending rainbow patterns across the chamber. My people owe everything to these humans. When we called for help, only they answered. When we had given up hope, they showed us courage. He paused, looking around the assembly. Many of us called them Deathworlders as an insult. We mocked them for coming from a hostile planet, but now we understand. Their world didn't make them weak. It made them strong. It taught them to find victory in impossible situations. The assembly murmured in agreement. Vex continued. The Liberty's crew didn't just save the Zalathi. They saved every civilization in this galaxy. The Devourers had consumed entire galaxies before reaching ours. Now, thanks to 30 humans, they are extinct. The chairman nodded. Let the record show that from this day forward, the crew of the Liberty shall be known as heroes of the galaxy. Their names will be remembered as long as civilization endures. On Earth, the memorial service was simpler, but no less meaningful. Families of the Liberty's crew gathered at the Space Force Memorial. Each name was read aloud, each life remembered. Admiral Foster spoke to the assembled crowd. They knew it was a one-way mission. They knew they wouldn't come home. But they went anyway, because that's what heroes do. She looked at the memorial wall where new names had been added. Jake Morgan used to say that being human meant helping others even when it cost everything. His crew proved that humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or our technology. It's our willingness to sacrifice for others. 6 months later, Earth's communication channels lit up with distress calls from across the galaxy. Not from attacks, but from civilizations wanting humanity's help with other problems. Natural disasters, disease outbreaks, technological failures. When the galaxy needed help, they called the Deathworlders, and humanity answered. Every time. In military academies across Earth, the Battle of Kepler 442 became required study. But instructors focused on one key lesson. The Liberty's crew hadn't won through superior firepower or advanced technology. They'd won by thinking differently, by using Earth's microorganisms as weapons. Remember, instructors would say, our planet's hostility is our strength. What others see as danger, we see as opportunity. The Zalathi, in gratitude, built a monument in their system, a massive crystal structure that projected the Liberty's final moments into space. Any ship passing through the system would see it. And remember, Commander Vex, now an ambassador to Earth, often spoke at human schools. His message was always the same. Your people showed us that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite that fear. The Liberty's crew feared death, but they flew into it anyway to save beings they'd never met. Years passed. The term Deathworlder evolved from an insult to a badge of honor. When dangerous missions arose, when impossible odds needed facing, the galaxy called for humans. And humans always answered, because that's what Deathworlders do. They run toward danger. They find solutions in chaos. They sacrifice for strangers. They make the impossible possible. In the end, 30 humans had changed the galaxy forever. Not through conquest or technology, but through the oldest human trait of all, the willingness to die so others might live. Their sacrifice became legend. Their courage became inspiration. And their memory became eternal. The Deathworlders had made history.